Yay, now we're on. Now we're ready to go. Well, welcome everybody once again. Thank you for joining us today. We're talking to CoEx today, and also Tony Sharp. Hopefully he's coming along any second from Substation 33, and he set up a really successful Containers for Change program. So we're really excited to start to see how this can work for social enterprises across Queensland. To kick off today, I just want to do an acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land that we come from today, which is the Yagara and Turrbal people. At CoEx, we don't just say this, we actually walk this. We know that social enterprises are pretty new to the scene when it comes to ethical business and trade. First Nations people across the globe have been doing this for centuries. And what we've done from a Western perspective is actually look at the amazing work that has been done from First Nations businesses and see where we might be able to learn some wisdom of their ways and look at the ways we could become more ethical in our transactions as well, and work with purpose rather than just for a single bottom line. So it is with great pleasure that I acknowledge that we're walking on land that have never been ceded, and CoEx pays respects to owners past, present and emerging. We also welcome today, we've got here Adam Nicholson. Yes, yes, I got it right, excellent. And we've also got Pierce Gage from CoEx.
Hello everyone.
Talking to us today about the Containers for Change program. I'm going to start by showing hopefully this video. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen for a minute, and I'm going to go to the screen that we've got. Sorry. Video and Substation 31, 33, here we go. Now, when I press play, I'm hoping that you're all going to be able to hear this.
A lot of young people in our community just don't have the opportunities, and they don't have the skills that they need to get into the real workforce. And that's one of the main reasons we started Substation 33. We use electronic waste to create employment opportunities for people, and along the way they're actually doing something with the environment at the same time. I'm Tony Sharp, I'm the founder here, and when we first started Substation 33 it was just a table with 4 people. Now we have 30 paid staff and 600 volunteers a year, and we've processed over 1 million kilograms of electronic waste to create other better products. And we're making all sorts of things here on site. We're always looking for new ways to create employment for our local community. And when we heard about Containers for Change, we're very excited. It fits perfectly with Substation. The containers from the reverse vending machines are delivered here. They are then loaded onto a conveyor belt, and we sort them into their various material streams, which are then collected to be processed and to be on-sold. We love it. We're using was classed as waste only a couple of years ago. We're now turning that into employment opportunities. That's the part that makes me keep coming to work, right? For me, it's people engaging back with their family. It's people having employment. It's people having an income. It's people making change.
This is Substation 33.
We're change makers.
Woohoo!
Hey, love that video.
And we just have to say thank you so much to CoEx for putting that video together. And I'm pretty sure Tony's entered the room. Tony, are you there? No? He's not there yet? No. Okay, well, we might throw to Adam. Oh, there he is. Tony is there. Yay. Woohoo. Welcome, Tony. Have you got your system hooked up and you're unmuted, but we can't hear you? No, he's unmuted. Oh, yeah. Just check your audio settings there, Tony. I might just jump off and help you out with that one. I'm going to throw to Adam, and he can talk us through a little bit about what the CoEx Containers for Change system's all about.
Well, thank you, Elise. There we go. I just use up and down arrows.
Just up and down.
Yeah, perfect. No worries. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for having us along today. Really appreciate it, and love that video. You know, I love to hear the story of the scheme told through the voices and from the perspectives of our customers, our partners. So we have a series of videos. I'd encourage you to jump onto our YouTube channel, and you can see Tony's video there, but also a range of other ones. And I think that tells a better story about who CoEx is and who we'd like to be, far more than I can, but I will no doubt do my, nonetheless do my best. So today, the title of my short presentation, although I am a bit of a chatterbox, so I've got asked Piers to give me a wind up if I start, you know, droning on. So we wanted to say that for us, we're at 6 billion and counting. Pardon the pun, it's a pun we love to make. 6 billion and counting, and the topic that I wanted to talk about with you all today is amplifying the impact of our scheme. And that's we're now 3.5 years old. We've been through that establishment phase, and today I just want to talk to you about you know, where we've got to and where we see the future from here. Just to, as Elise said, we'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We're still at the very early stages of our own RAP, our Reconciliation Action Plan. So we haven't got a very customised version yet, and that's something that we'll be working on in the next 6 to 12 months. But you'll notice there when we talk about some of the impact we're trying to expand, you know, connecting and partnering with First Nations councils throughout remote and regional Queensland is a big part of, you know, this next phase in CoEx as well. But it's been a very busy 3 years. We have set up, when we opened, November 1st, 2018, we opened 232 businesses on the same day. And I think anyone will tell you that one is hard to do. So you can imagine the enormity of that task. And it feels like we've been running ever since. 6 billion containers, the sheer scale of those containers is really hard to visualize or conceive. Before the scheme launched, I was lucky enough to be sent over to Adelaide to have a look at some of the you know, the South Australian scheme. And what really struck me was that when we sort of went back into some of the warehouses and the processes, I mean, these are aircraft hangar size buildings, absolutely up to the rafters with blocks and blocks and blocks of all these materials. So when you see the sheer scale of our scheme, you can understand why it's been a very busy 3 years. We have very much focused on, you know, I hate to sort of, you know, give ourselves any plaudits or compliments, but we have made some progress in those 3 and a bit years. We've prevented, obviously, more than 6 billion containers from going to landfill. We have created more than 800 new jobs, and by new jobs I mean these are not job equivalents. These are actual legitimate, lasting, sustained employment, and in many cases we've managed to create opportunities for people who, you know, people with disabilities, people who are long-term unemployed, people returning from the Defence Force. We've had a whole range of, you know, created a whole range of employment opportunities. Obviously, we've reduced litter in communities and the environment by more than 50%. Actually, I should be clear, the 2 litter surveys are 48% and 54%. They're done by the state government. We haven't done one, we missed one for a year, so we don't know what it's like through that COVID period, but we're looking forward to getting our next survey and hoping that it will be a little higher. Recently, CSIRO completed a study, and it showed that states with a container refund scheme have 40% less pollution along their coastline. So that was very exciting for us to hear as well. I mean, you know, we think we're doing a reasonable job and making good progress, but it's lovely when there's a bit of science out there that can actually back it up, and it's not just us patting ourselves on the back. From those 6 billion containers, that means we've sent $600 million in refunds to Queensland customers, so individuals, but also charities and community groups who are able to register with our scheme and then share their scheme ID with their network of supporters and friends. So even if people don't physically bring their containers to a charity or a community group, they can actually just take their scheme ID and go and make that donation at a depot or a bag drop themselves. So yeah, we're very happy. I should have brought you the latest figure on money, the percentage of that goes to charities. I'm afraid I don't have that with me today, so my apologies. But look, that's been our progress to date. As I mentioned, we're 3.5 years into the scheme, and we've started to give a bit of thought. Well, not started, we've been giving a bit of thought to you know, where we go from here. Now that we're a mature scheme, what are the things that we can start to think about that maybe we didn't have time to think about when we were implementing first 232 sites across the state? Then we got that number up to 307 after operating for about 12 months. And I think we're just over 360 now at the moment, which is wonderful. And, you know, I mentioned that number because that's over and above the number of container refund points that the government set for us as a target. So to have 360 just demonstrates that we are very committed to expanding our accessibility to our scheme, expanding our coverage, and make sure that we're creating opportunities for all Queenslanders, not just most Queenslanders. And so here you'll see this slide here is one that talks about our triple bottom line. I know you have a quadruple bottom line. Elise was updating me on that, and I thought, we're one bottom line short. But look, it's not a race. But
yes, it is.
But yes, it is. I'm ultra competitive. Actually, I probably should share. Elise and I spent some time together before the scheme. Elise was at Queensland P&C, and she had a wonderful vision for bringing all the P&Cs together and sort of having a single scheme and approach. Look, there were many P&Cs that joined up. I was saying just earlier that I think it's time to try that one again, because I feel like the statewide network of P&Cs, now that they have a better understanding of where the scheme is.
Oh, is that Tony? Tony's in?
Yep.
Yay, woohoo. We did it.
There we go. Hi, Tony. So I was just suggesting that it might be time to revisit with the P&Cs, because what we've seen is that a lot of charity groups and community groups, they understand there's a really good way to fundraise, but that's not necessarily what we're here to talk to you about today. What I want to talk to you today is not just about how your organisations might fundraise through the scheme, raise money by collecting containers or having people make donations. But what we really want to talk to is about that impact too. Obviously, in our triple bottom line, we know that when you take 6 billion containers out of landfill, there's obviously a big economic benefit there, because you're capturing all of those resources and you're not needing to mine them, you know, from virgin environment sort of landscape. And so there are economic benefits to that. But as you can imagine, there are obvious environmental benefits to that. You take 6 billion containers out of landfill, and that's a heck of a lot of carbon that you save. So the one that's probably a little harder for us to maximise our impact on is around that social sphere, and that's a real focus for us in the coming years. And I guess what I'm doing is giving you a bit of an insight into the organisation and where we're at now. And for us at the moment, around social impact, our goal is to create opportunities for all Queenslanders. And we think we have created great opportunities for most Queenslanders, but there are some difficult challenges in Queensland. You know, we've got some geographical hurdles. We've got the Cape, we've got the Gulf, we've got some islands. You know, we're a big and disaggregated population. So there are some challenges for us, but you know, we're up for a challenge. Like I said, we opened 232 businesses on one day. So look,
And I guess there's something interesting in that too, because there's with the challenges become obviously opportunities. So where we've got some challenges in terms of logistics and, you know, trying to get waste managed across such a huge, vast, you know, kilometre range, we can actually do something quite local and quite powerful. And, you know, something that Tony's hopefully going to share with us in just a short minute is something that he's doing in his local area to really address some of the waste issues. Yeah. So there are also opportunities with those challenges.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And that's really what we're here to talk with you about today. So, you know, as I mentioned, part of our approach to creating opportunities for all Queenslanders, want to increase, you know, the opportunities to partner with First Nation local government, social enterprises, and the not-for-profit sector more generally. And, you know, with the obvious goal being to continue to influence future generations of recycling champions. So that's our goal. Our message today is that we'd like to hear from you. We would like to get a discussion going, and I'll hand over to my colleague and compatriot, Fierce Gage.
Should we do Tony first?
Yeah, maybe we'll chat to Tony first. And then what we might do is come back to Pierce. He's going to talk us through a little bit about some of the opportunities that exist within the business that we'd like to talk to you about. But yeah, first of all, why don't we hand over to Tony and hear from him?
Okay, Tony, you're on.
There you go. How's that? You can hear me?
Great.
Sorry about that. It's technical issues. You know, you get that. Of all the people that should have that nailed, it probably should not be me. Thanks very much for the opportunity, and particularly thanks to the people from Containers for Change, because what we've actually been able to do at Substation in the last 6 months is really been able to work very closely with these guys and girls, and you know, what we've been able to achieve is nothing short of a miracle for us here at Substation, and particularly for the parent organisation YFS, and for our mantra, which is participation and engagement in the community. And that's what really has happened here. I heard a lot of talk just then about you know, the environmental impacts that have been achieved through Containers for Change. Well, interestingly for us, the words Containers for Change, for us, change is creating employment opportunities or work experience for people that are marginalised from mainstream employment. And, you know, that's exactly what we do here at Substation, have been doing for 10 years now. And so really in our 10th anniversary year, we're now double our geographical footprint, double the amount of stuff that we're doing for the environment, but more importantly, double our employment outcomes. And that has been an amazing event, and it could not have happened without Containers for Change really stepping up and having a conversation with us and being really open to that conversation and understanding that we are, although I shouldn't make that excuse as a social enterprise, but we are complicated and challenged in some ways when it comes to this sort of space, and working quickly and fastly is one of the things I think Substation does particularly well. But you know, we could not have done that without the team at Containers getting in and giving us a red hot crack and making sure that we were valued in that conversation. And they understood that we weren't going to get it right the first time round necessarily. And for the history for us is we actually started at Mary Street, which for those of you who have been fortunate enough to visit Mary Street is a tight footprint. And now we've got a new building that I'm sitting in now in Aranda Street, the Slacks Street. And I don't know whether you want to go through the nuts and bolts, but the nuts and bolts for us here are that we get containers delivered to us from a new system that's been developed by Containers for Change, where they've got reverse vending machines in partnership with large shopping centres, Coles and Woolworths, and I believe Bunnings are also involved with it. Those containers are picked up by an outside contractor and then dropped here at midnight. We don't have to have trucks on the road or people on the road. It is just beautiful.
Wow.
And then from there, we process them. So behind me is the conveyor belt. We load those co-mixed containers into a conveyor belt, and people are paid to sort those into their various commodity streams. We never, ever get a piece of glass in this building, which is another beautiful thing for anybody, because that's handled by machines, not by humans. So there's, you know, it reduced a lot of risk for us. And then we sort them into their various commodities: aluminium, clear plastic, coloured plastic and PET and cardboard, paper, liquid paper board. But the really interesting thing for us is then they are taken away from this site by an outside contractor. We never touch them. So our job is all place-based, if you like. It's all in our building. It's a controlled environment. We get to know who's coming in the building, and then we can offer people support around our social engagement stuff and getting them work ready. We've just engaged another, we just employed this week another 4 staff because we're drowning in plastic bottles and aluminium cans. It's a really good problem to have, but we're fast paced, and we're doing about 60 cubic meters of product in half a day. But that will obviously increase as the more systems come out. We're also engaged with Containers to manage a new system or a new store that they've got, which was at the Macarthur Central in the city. And that's being moved in the next week or so over to the Myer Centre. So it's a front of house. We offer up front of house staff, people, concierge, if you like, that helps the general punter work out the system, how to get their containers for change refund portal going and how they use the machines. And we're also doing the logistics on that as well. So, for us, it's a 7-day week operation now. And we're also running the logistics out of the city. Every one of these jobs touches a person who has previously never worked. So we don't have it. Those of you who know us, we do not have an ad on Seek. We don't have an ad on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace or anything. All of our people are our people that develop and grow into our system. We help them to get their tax file numbers and their superannuation sort of stuff, all that sort of stuff organised. With great pride, I say that, that YFS and Substation is a good employer because we do everything right. And so the expectation then is when our people move on to other employment, the expectation is set of what they're expected to do, their superannuation, their tax file numbers, all that sort of stuff is set. There's no cash changes hands. It's good because then they know what they're expected. So when they get to my age, they have a superannuation fund, right? And that's what we're looking for.
So Tony, I think I'd be really interested to hear, what was your first starting place with Containers for Change? Like, what was the first, before you actually ended up expanding, what was your first touch point? How did you start to manage that?
Well, I think this goes to show exactly what sort of an organisation Containers for Change is. I sat on an environmental panel with Ken Noy, the CEO, and we started talking one Saturday afternoon about what are the possibilities for us to work together to do something. Pretty much with Monday morning, I had people on my front doorstep knocking on my door saying, "Let's go." And that's as simple. That's as simple as it is.
A very
customized
approach for you. So it was really tailored to suit your conditions and how you might like to approach it.
100%. And we all made mistakes. Containers made mistakes and we made mistakes, but we were able to work through those. I mean, not mistakes, but we all wanted something and we couldn't align at the beginning. But the message I'm clearly delivering is that we were able to move and they were able to move to get us to a point where today we've processed 3.5 million containers.
Yeah, that's
and created 8 employment positions, and those people are not supposed to stick at Substation. Our Substation's business model is not to hold on to the staff for 20 years. That's not our business model. Our business model is to get people up, get them running, get them hooked into the spend, get them hooked into spending money and to understanding that money is valuable and that changes lives, and then move them on to other employment, because then we can reference check them, we can do all that sort of stuff for them, and because we know them, we've been with them for 6 months or 12 months, and then we move them on to another employer. And for us, for our people in general, they want to do that because they understand where they were and what has changed because they were offered the opportunity and how they've moved on to another job. They want to move on to another job for a couple of reasons. One, because they might get sick of the business or sick of the work, but as well as that, they want to grow and develop as a human as well. But they also want to undo that spot, release themselves from that spot to give somebody else that is not as well off as they currently are now and where they were before, to free them up for another spot so that person can experience what they've experienced. Yeah. And that's our business model. Always has been, always will be.
It's a transformation, isn't it, that you guys do at Substation 33. There's a couple of different...
It's a selfish thing. I want them all to pay tax so I get to retire.
Absolutely. So Tony, there's probably going to be some questions from the people in the room, but before we get to the question part, I'd like to throw to Pierce so he can, I know that there's a couple of different ways that social enterprises and that organisations can get involved with CoEx. So before we go to a question answer sort of style, Pierce, can you just tell us a little bit more about that machinations of what actually happens in technical aspects?
All right. Thanks for your time, everybody. What we're trying to do is obviously engage more with social enterprise, and we understand that there are challenges in that space in terms of trying to secure revenue streams. And there's a huge amount of opportunity, we believe, in being involved with the Containers for Change scheme. And if we look at Tony's example, where we started talking to him about doing just a little bit of a sortation task for us. And then it was like, oh, Tony, could you provide some labour for us at the MacArthur Centre? And, oh, Tony, can you provide a transport opportunity to move the product as well? And, you know, one of the things about Tony is there's that real can-do attitude, which has made it very easy for us to engage with Substation 33 and offer up other opportunities. Now, it's not necessarily the opportunity doesn't have to be, oh, look, I don't want to run a customer-facing depot. If we think about what businesses need nowadays, it could be some cleaning services, it could be some bookkeeping services, it could be logistics. You know, we could go on and on. Labour hire, like Tony provides through Substation 33. So it's not about, you know, it's a very small opportunity. If you can think in terms of what are the services that businesses need, we'd like to understand, you know, where you are, what services you offer, or what services you may be interested in offering. And what we want to do is come out and have a conversation face to face with you to just sort of flesh that out and get some detail in terms of how you might be involved.
So can I just stop you there for a moment? So an organisation or a social enterprise that doesn't necessarily want to collect containers might have other opportunities to get involved with others who are collecting containers.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep, absolutely. So it's
a B2B model for our social enterprises into the system.
Yeah, and you know, it's obviously you know, there's a fair geographic spread of your members, so there are potential opportunities right across the state, because some of our operators, you know, they might be very good at, you know, transport or, you know, collecting bottles and cans, but, you know, they're weak on, say, bookkeeping services or something, and they need some assistance there, you know. So it is a matter of what we would like you to, and we'll give you a web address that you can go to on our website and grab an application form. And it's just a simple name, address, phone number, and the area that you may be interested in. Send that back into us, and then we'll just put that all together in a bit of a spreadsheet. But one of the things for every member on this call, you will definitely get a phone call, and you will get a meeting, face-to-face meeting, where we will come and talk to you.
Wow,
So,
that's cool. So you've mentioned before, I know that there are other opportunities too in terms of revenue streams from collecting from other organisations and being part of the Containers for Change as a beneficiary of the donated goods. So can you explain that a little bit for us?
Can I chat
Yep.
to that one?
Yeah.
Sure. Stay there. Maybe what we might do is
Just shift it over.
shift
Yeah.
it there a little bit.
Yep.
I'll jump in there. I'll take that one. So yeah, one of the things that that we've found, we have a scheme called Partners for Change. And as we've started to work with shopping centres, stadiums, restaurant precincts, a whole bunch of you know, different, I suppose you could call them container generators. And so we've worked with those, and in a lot of cases, they don't necessarily want to work with collect that money for themselves. So they might work in conjunction with a charity as the recipient or beneficiary, but there's also the opportunity that in those sort of situations, it might be something that, you know, a social enterprise could actually come in and do or participate in some of that collection, or and I think that is what Tony was describing. We've got those shopping centres and we aggregate all of that volume and bring that back. So I think what Pierce is sort of saying is there's a whole range of opportunities or outside of collecting bottles and cans, as well as collecting bottles and cans.
So there's just collecting bottles and cans and sorting that is one aspect.
That's right.
What Tony's doing at My Centre is another aspect where he's actually being the concierge and, you know, creating
front of
that
house,
link, front of house.
Customer
There's
connection.
Also all of the opportunities around being part of the beneficiary stream. So being a donated, so I hear there's a form that you can fill out and you can just become part of the donation stream.
Definitely.
So people can just donate straight to you.
So they're two separate things. You could jump onto the website right now and sign up your organisation as for a scheme ID, and you would go on as a registered charity or a not-for-profit, and then you can send that scheme ID out to your networks of supporters, friends, family, all of those, and you can actually fundraise in that way. And that's one level, one layer. But what we're sort of wanting to talk about is what are the additional things over and above, and that might be a whole range. It might be, you know, a lot of our operators or customers through the state, they will, some of our, thinking of Wudjil specifically, they started to make some wire, bins, nice, easy, light, and manufacturing. And so what started to happen is that as they were doing those, they started getting calls for more and more. And before you knew it, they were making and selling those sort of mesh bins within their sort of footprint and even beyond. So I guess what Pierce is sort of getting at is, we don't want to put any restriction on what the opportunity might be. I think, as Tony said, it started with a conversation and has grown into something quite powerful and complex. So we're looking to replicate that loop that we went through with Tony's team, because we think there might be opportunities for all the organisations here today.
Fantastic. So we might switch over now. Tony, do you want to say anything through in response to any of those things?
I would just say that exactly what they said is that the opportunities are not around being a charity that receives a 10-cent donation here. I think the opportunity is much broader than that. The opportunity is to create a business within your local community. If you don't want to be public facing, I'm sure there's plenty of other things to do, as Pierce alluded to, the cleaning, the bookkeeping, all that sort of stuff. Or, I mean, it's for us, it's really, when are we going to start saying no? Because the opportunities are so abundant.
Wow.
And I don't actually, as most people in this room would know, I very, very rarely say the word no.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to keep up, which is good.
Crystal's just asked a question, can we have a link to the website? So at the end of this, we'll be preparing the slide deck, as well as links to the various things that the gentlemen here have just been speaking about. We'll also recirculate the little video from Tony, if you want to refresh your memory about what you experienced there with the video. So we'll send you a link to that as well. And we'll give you those direct email contacts as well, so you can get in touch with the CoEx to start those conversations flowing. Were there any other more general questions, either to Tony or Pierce or Adam here, while we've got them on the line? Are they working in Cape York, says Crystal? I think
yeah, we are. Look, there's no doubt that, as you can imagine, when you're setting up an operation, the longer the distances and the smaller the volumes, that does make commercial viability a little difficult. So what we've seen is we've had some non-permanent. So we're in some cases where the communities are quite small, we have pop-ups, and we connect those with an operator. But we've always known that we want to go back and, build that opportunity even within some of those Indigenous councils. So we're actually working on an engagement schedule at the moment and working with each of those councils to have a think about, would they like to operate a CRP or work with a charity or a social enterprise within their footprint. So the answer is yes, it's a smaller presence than we envision, and certainly in the next sort of 12 months, 2 years, that's part of that goal, to sort of extend the opportunity to all Queenslanders. I think in the first 3.5 years, we can comfortably say we got to most Queenslanders, but yeah, some of those areas, the islands, the Cape, the Gulf, they're on our
Crystal's with Cape York Partnership. So
fantastic. I'd love to chat with you, Crystal. Absolutely. Mary and Petrina have just joined the organisation. They're based in Cairns, and they've got background and experience in engaging with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island communities. So they're leading that First Nation engagement. So we'd love to have a chat to you.
fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
No worries, Crystal. Mandy has just said, how soon can we expect a call? I'm keen to chat.
Okay.
PS will be calling you at 2:01.
Well, Mandy, as we've indicated, what we need is for you to fill out the form, and we'll get you that website link. Down the bottom, you'll see it's social enterprise application. The sooner you get that form to us, the sooner you'll get a phone call. So it's part of what we want to do is to get in front of you guys and sort of have a chat. I mean, it's interesting, just on this call, I can see Rob Henderson, who is one of our partners in Bundaberg. I think John from Rocklea is on the call as well. So there are a number of people on this call that are already involved. Now that John and Rob do more customer facing facilities for us, but there's a good example of a number of members that are already involved in the scheme. So plenty of people you can go and talk to and get an experience, both the good and the bad.
Matthew says, is there a link? Yes, of course. We're going to be sending the links to you, Matthew, so that you don't have to copy and paste from the chat room. So yes, we'll assemble all of that and get that out to you. Tony, I wanted to also ask, how's your staff? You've just expanded into this new space. How are you going with getting people to come and work in that space? And are there any challenges you wanted to sort of flag with us?
No, there are no challenges. There's always challenges. The challenge is, I suppose, going from 20 staff to 40 staff, which is what we estimate will be by late spring, early summer. I think that's just a HR problem. Like we all have those in every organisation we work in, which is fine. I think we've got people literally knocking the door down when they hear what we're going to do, because we are paying the award wage here, and people are going to work weekends, and people now are going from no employment or no income at all to 40 hours a week, 38 hours a week, whatever it is. It's an amazing experience. It's been so good. So, and the other thing is we get to test our people beforehand at substation, where they're volunteering or doing their community service, so they work for the dole, and then they move to a second site, and that second site is a full paid site, which is this site, which is the Aranda Street site. So it's been really good.
I guess the other question I wanted to ask too was about space, because we often hear from social enterprises that access to space is a premium. How did you come about the space that you've set up in? Or was it helpful to work through council, or what was the process there?
This is a full paid gig by Containers for Change. This is what it is. This is not a charity. We are not a charity. We are not a charity. We are a charity. We have a charity number, but we are not acting like or feeling like or performing like a charity. We don't want to do that. We want to perform. We might be at the bottom of the food chain, or maybe not at the bottom of the food chain, but we want to play with the tier ones, and the tier ones want to play with us, and we've got it to happen. And we're not playing any longer. It's serious stuff. 3.5 million containers in a couple of months is no small feat. I don't think anyway. I might be delusional, but I think we've been able to perform, and through our performance, other opportunities have come forth. And what I'm pleading with other social enterprises to do is to step up here and get real and just start to work with. This is a beautiful opportunity for us all to make a complete difference, not only to the environment, but to the social outcomes within your local community. Step up, make the call. PS wants you to fill out a form, fill out that form. And then he'll phone you, or somebody will phone you. This is not hard work. I'm telling you now. Has not been difficult. It's just, yes, yeah, we can do that. It's just a whole lot of we can do that and performing.
Wow.
And we've been able to perform. And as well as that, in containers, I've got to give credit where credit due, is that these guys have been nothing but impeccable in their communication with us, face-to-face meetings. It's all succinct. There are systems in place. This is easy to follow. This is a very easy blueprint to follow. You've just got to perform. You've got to just get your ducks in line. They look after everything for us. They don't want to make a mistake. If they're doing audits for us, they're allowing us to make some alterations in an audit process and make sure that we're right. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to have somebody else fail. The thing about that, I think that's the thing about CoEx, is they don't want to set people up. They never wanted to set up for failure. All they've done is to advocate and build our strength to make sure that we fail. And we're not a special case. This is what they want to have happen. They don't want to make a mistake. They want their scheme to work. The only way the scheme to work is that the arms and legs doing work. And that's what we are able to offer. And I am pleading to everybody in Queensland to get on with this. And get it happen.
Andrew Hamilton, you're on the call today from Social Scaffolding. I just wanted to bring you in for a minute because you've got a lot of contacts with lots of social enterprises and not-for-profits across Queensland. Let me know what's on your mind.
G'day, Tony. You look 20 years younger without the beard, mate. Great work. Always good to talk to you. There's actually
go on mute there, Andrew.
Sorry, we missed that one. Keep going.
Sorry, I think, let me try again. I think, can you hear me now? I'll turn my video off, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I was saying, Tony, you look 20 years younger without the beard, mate. Looks really good. There's a gentleman on the call from WA, and I'm sure he'll ask some questions himself, but one of the questions is the work seasonal? And if it is seasonal, what do you do with the 40 workers reduction in work?
What do you reckon? Is it seasonal, fellas?
There is an element of seasonality, but it's not huge. Basic, a lot of our operators, it's fairly consistent. They're open 7 days a week. We'd like them to trade at least 9 hours a day. John and Rob can certainly talk about their experience. But you tend to find that you'll get a quiet day, maybe Wednesday and Thursday might be quieter days during the week. And I'm talking specifically about facilities, the runners over-the-counter depots, as we call them. But Andrew, if you were offering some other services, and it might be logistics or bookkeeping or whatever, then obviously the businesses are open every day of the week. So,
Just to add to that, Pierce, that gives you sort of the flow in any given week. But if you mean sort of, looking at an annual, variability, there's no doubt that we have higher volumes in summer. Queenslanders definitely consume more, beverages.
But just to add into that comment, Andrew, really, is that tell me a business is not seasonal, because I don't know any.
Lawn mowing
has its ebbs and flows.
But Andrew, it's not like, and Adam was correct in terms of we see this peak over summer, and obviously there's a tourist component linked in with that. So we need to be mindful of that. but it's not like we dropped to 50% of volumes during the winter period. You know, if we're at the moment, we're probably running at about 85% of what our summer volumes would be, because a lot of the containers, you know, if you think of the tradies milks, the kids poppers, you know, water, like, you know, water in plastic bottles. Who would have thought? Right?
Yeah.
Drink it out of a garden hose, but anyway, it's you know, and obviously a lot of you know, the soft drinks. Aluminium cans is approximately 50% of our volume, and that tends to just bump along at a normal rate. It's some of the other containers, you know, move a lot more across the seasons, but you know, if our peak was average of say 5.5 million containers a day, you know, we're probably doing 4.5 million at the moment. That's right across Queensland.
Right. Thanks very much for that. And probably the only other question, Tony, is you've done awesome work recycling electronic waste. Are you looking at directly doing any products with the recycled plastics, or are you happy just to get the best price on the market?
So I think, Andrew, just to be very clear, that we contract, so not only to Andrew, but to the rest of the audience, apart from a couple select here, is that we are contractors, we are labour, we are arms and legs. We are sorting containers for the system. The system, in this case, in our particular case, delivers the product to us. We sort it and grade it for them into the 6 streams, and that is picked up by an outside contractor and taken back. The actual management of the, I'm speaking out of school, it's not my thing, but the management of the containers and the selling of the commodity, the aluminium cans and the plastic, is a big deal. It's a massive thing, and it goes through an auction. There's a board, there's a panel that you must register to.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything with any container that we collect here apart from put it through the scheme, and the scheme then takes it and crushes it and then puts it on the open market, on a closed open market to be sold. So we have no intention of doing anything apart from getting people, you know, I think for us, if you look at it, some very rough figures, not accurate. If we did, not particularly accurate because I don't have them in front of me, but if we're doing around, let's just say it's 3 million containers to date, as part of our system, we have put a hand on 1.5 million containers, and 1.5 million containers, which are aluminium cans, have gone through a conveyor belt and get dropped into a container. But half of our product gets a human hand on it as part of the process. So 1.5 million containers have had a human hand touch them in a few months. That's what our job is to create labour.
Move the stuff, yeah. Rob, you had your hand up just before. Did you want a question? Do you want to ask a question or comment?
It wasn't so much a question, but just to back up the seasonality bit. It's not a seasonal operation. We're a not-for-profit provider within the Bundaberg region, and we employ people with disabilities, from mental health, all of the different situations that people have. And we provide casual employment so that we can ramp up and ramp back. And we can fit in with people like domestic violence ladies who really need to work school hours. So we can ramp up and ramp down throughout the year. We have our core staff that then can pick the hours they'd like to work, and that assists with the flexibility to cover, you know, the slight drop that you have from summer to winter. And you know, that works in well for the staff and it works in well for us. So it gives them flexibility and it gives us flexibility. They're all paid the award wages like the other gentleman that was talking. So, you know, it gives them financial stability as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Rob. Are there any other questions? I'm just noticing the time. We've only got about 5 minutes left or so. Is there any other questions that anyone would like to ask before we close off for today? John Kim, hi John, says, are there any conflicts of interest with the current depot operators? Pickup, sorting, etc., are part of the operator's work scope at the moment. How do you prioritise for social enterprise to get some opportunities with CoEx?
Great question. Do you want me to grab that one? Yeah. And Pierce is the expert if we want to have an explanation of how, but in broad terms, what we tend to do is ensure that our operators don't, cannibalise in any way each other's areas. So we tend to have a geographical footprint for a lot of our work. In this case, I think as Tony explained, this volume is actually coming from the reverse vending machines, the donation-based reverse vending machines that we're putting in shopping centres and other facilities around the state. So in this case, there's no crossover because it's not actually cutting across a geographical footprint. So we have a range of services that we offer. The front-facing customer stuff is often linked to a geography, but a lot of the back of house opportunities that we are talking about, logistics, I think we've used bookkeeping and cleaning a few times. Obviously, there's no conflict there. But look, we're very careful. We're always fine-tuning, tweaking our network. Our customers don't stand still and live in the same place. They move around. They change their behaviour and patterns. So we think our network is always going to be tweaked. And to be honest, the best way to find out where that place might sit is with a conversation. It literally starts with that first meeting for us to get a bit of an understanding about, the interest levels, the capability, the resources that you already have, but also some of those, that vision or goal or where you see yourself going into. So yeah, we're very open to that chat.
Mm.
Can I also just add a little tiny comment to that?
Yeah.
Around social enterprise needs to stop thinking that they're social enterprise, they're going to get a hand up with this. We came in with the business mindset. We've got a fantastic, clear, concise business agenda to process cans for containers for change. We just so happen to be a social enterprise.
Mm.
And unless we change that conversation, I believe, Queensland-wide, we're going to always be the second cousin.
Mm. Yeah. Mandy's asked, is Substation 33 the only one of its kind in Queensland, Australia? Of course, but no. There are others doing similar things, but I would say Tony's pretty unique. And a bit of a legend in the social enterprise space, I've got to say. But there are...
Well, not really, because what I did clearly say, like 6 months ago, no, we're never going to duplicate Substation. That's just crazy talk. Hell, here we are today.
Yeah, bloody.
So thanks, Containers for Change, for making that a reality.
There are other social enterprises operating containers in ways. So we know of one up in Hervey Bay. Impact Services is here on the call. Rob's here. There are a couple that are operating Containers for Change. There's more.
Yeah, there's one in Air and NQ Employment.
Yeah.
Cloncurry.
Yep.
Red Door.
Or
Or multi-skill.
Yeah,
that's multi-skill, one of ours. Yeah.
Cloncurry. So they're Running Wild, who's on the Macleay and
That's
Russell.
right, Macleay and Russell Island. That's right.
Yeah.
They operate them. So
I think we've got about a dozen Anua at Gatton, or another organisation. So I've got to.
Yeah.
Start thinking
So
through
there's a couple already starting to operate across Queensland for the Containers to Change. But Tony's got a really great model where he's got lots of different products coming through from an IT perspective as well, and also doing.
We're in the best region in Queensland.
Yeah. And also doing a whole bunch of really great innovation, tech innovations around some of that repurposing of that material. So I think it is a pretty rare model. I don't know if we'd say it's the only one, but it's pretty unique. It's pretty unique. If there's no other questions, we're right bang on time now. Mandy's put another one up. Do the container programs
Mhm.
only focus on containers in the 10% beverage industry. I think it
Yes,
does,
that's right. Yeah. So currently wine bottles and spirit bottles aren't part of the scheme. There is a national discussion that might change, but currently, yeah, we only look at the containers, beverage containers that attract that 10-cent refund. But hey, if there's a national change and they expand it to wine bottles and spirit bottles, you know, Tony might even be busier still because we'll be the volume will sort of increase a long way as well. But look, there's still a lot of containers out there that we're missing. So yeah, we've got plenty of opportunity and plenty of work to get through just on the 10-cent eligible containers.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I won't keep you now. You've all got to get back to work. I'm going to crack that whip.
This is work.
Thanks so much for joining us. We will circulate the links and the videos and the recording of this at the end of this. So thank you so much, everybody. I'm just going to stop.